He thought this would be easy, just another customer to dismiss. He had no idea what was coming. Emily Harper stepped into the gleaming dealership. The morning sun catching the reflective chrome and glass of the luxury vehicles lined in perfect rows. Her gray tee and faded jeans a stark contrast to the polished floors and tailored suits of the sales staff. Yet she moved with a quiet confidence, her ponytail swaying gently behind her, the click of her practical sneakers on the marble echoing softly as she approached the front desk. Jason Blake, the sales manager, looked up from his tablet, his eyes narrowing as he scanned her unassuming appearance, the smirk forming on his lips betraying his anticipation of a brief amusement. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked, his tone polite, but carrying an edge that suggested he expected her to retreat. Emily responded with a soft, steady voice. "I'm here to inquire about the midnight blue coupe on display." And with those words, she pointed toward the sleek car perched on the raised platform. Jason's smile tightened, a subtle flicker of irritation passing across his face as he leaned back slightly, glancing at the surrounding staff who shared in his quiet judgment, whispering among themselves as they watched her seemingly ordinary figure approach the high-end vehicle. Emily's eyes never wavered, her calm gaze taking in the fine lines of the leather seats, the glint of polished metal accents, the precision of every detail designed to impress. She had come with purpose, not pretense, and it was clear in the way she examined the car with a practiced eye, taking note of the interior layout, the subtle curvature of the dashboard, the tactile feel of the controls under her fingertips. Jason cleared his throat and gestured dismissively toward the showroom exit. "Perhaps another time," he said with a condescending tilt of his head, expecting her to comply. But Emily simply tilted her head, offering a faint smile, a quiet acknowledgement that she had all the time in the world and no intention of being intimidated. A soft murmur passed through the small group of onlookers, curiosity mingling with amusement. As she stepped closer, her posture straight, movements deliberate, each step measured, reflecting the understated confidence of someone who understood the power of patience. The room seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with expectation, the polished floors echoing each small sound, from the shuffle of feet to the faint hum of the air conditioning. As Jason shifted uncomfortably, clearly sensing that this interaction would not unfold according to his script, Emily's hand hovered over the car's handle, not to grab or to assert, but simply to acknowledge the object of her interest with intent, her presence commanding attention without a word of confrontation. And in that quiet space, the seed of surprise was planted, the beginning of a revelation that would leave everyone watching reconsidering assumptions and questioning the authority of appearances. The subtle tension coiling in the air hinted that this was only the first move in a story about respect, power, and the truth that lay quietly beneath a simple exterior. Emily Harper stepped back from the car, adjusting the strap of her simple tote bag over her shoulder, and walked toward the customer service desk, her eyes quietly scanning the showroom, taking note of the polished chrome, the subtle reflections on the floor, and the soft hum of conversations around her. Jason Blake cleared his throat and approached, forcing a practiced smile that did not reach his eyes. "Are you certain you understand the process for viewing this vehicle?" he asked, his tone tight with authority, as if he were testing her. But Emily met his gaze steadily, her calm voice responding. "I understand perfectly. I just wanted to see the interior of the car before making a decision," she said, her words deliberate, measured, carrying an understated confidence that seemed to ripple through the room. The surrounding staff exchanged quiet glances, a mix of curiosity and skepticism flickering across their faces. Emily did not falter, her posture relaxed, shoulders back, head held high, a quiet command of presence that drew attention without any overt action. Jason hesitated, adjusting the cuff of his suit, clearly weighing whether to allow her request or dismiss it. Emily, noticing the brief flicker of doubt, allowed a faint smile to touch her lips, a subtle acknowledgement that she was aware of the power dynamics at play, yet chose not to engage in confrontation, instead moving with patience and poise, the polished floors reflecting her steady steps as she approached the car, brushing her fingers lightly over the door handle, taking in the texture of the leather seats and the craftsmanship of the dashboard, every detail absorbing her attention while also signaling to anyone watching that she was deliberate and thoughtful. Jason's eyes narrowed slightly, unsure whether her calm composure was defiance or confidence. And as he opened his mouth to assert control, Emily spoke again, soft but firm. "I will return with an appointment if required, but I wanted to experience the car personally before doing so." Her words hanging in the air, drawing a collective pause from the nearby staff and onlookers, the tension thick but unspoken. Emily then stepped back, allowing space, yet maintaining an unmistakable presence, the quiet determination in her demeanor suggesting that appearances were deceiving and that the outcome of this interaction was not yet decided, each observer sensing that there was more beneath the surface, a story that was unfolding silently, promising a reveal that would challenge assumptions, redefine authority, and leave a lasting impression on everyone present as the soft echo of her steps receded slightly, leaving Jason and the staff in a subtle state of uncertainty, the polished showroom suddenly feeling smaller, more contained, as though it was holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. The next morning, the soft glow of dawn filtered through the large glass windows of the dealership, casting long reflections on the polished floors, and Emily Harper arrived with the quiet composure that had already drawn attention the previous day, her gray cardigan and simple loafers giving nothing away about the authority she carried. Jason Blake, already at his desk preparing for the busy day, looked up and froze for a moment as a deep, unmistakable roar of an engine echoed through the parking lot, and then a sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided into view, the sun glinting off its flawless body, and every staff member and customer immediately turned toward the spectacle, whispers spreading like wildfire across the showroom. Emily remained calm, stepping out from the passenger's side with a subtle smile, her posture composed, while a tall man in a tailored navy suit followed, exuding confidence and quiet power. Jason's smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of disbelief, and as Emily adjusted her tote bag, the man beside her offered a courteous nod to the receptionist, commanding recognition without raising his voice. The room seemed to contract with the sudden weight of authority. Emily took slow, deliberate steps toward the showroom entrance, the echo of her loafers on the marble amplifying the tension. The surrounding staff and customers remained silent, eyes wide, some glancing at one another as if confirming that the scene was real. Jason swallowed hard, clearly realizing that the assumptions he had made the previous day were completely wrong, and as Emily approached the front desk, she held herself with quiet dignity, her gaze sweeping across the rows of luxury cars, noting the details with appreciation but also with command. The deep blue coupe she had requested now seeming entirely within reach. The presence of her companion amplified her calm authority, his subtle gestures indicating that the purchase was legitimate and fully backed. A hush fell over the showroom as everyone processed the reversal. The whispering halted, and even the customers waiting for attention shifted uncomfortably, sensing that they were witnessing more than a simple transaction. Emily and her companion paused briefly near the car, giving Jason a moment to reconcile the previous interactions with the reality standing before him. The mixture of astonishment and embarrassment was tangible, and as she finally lifted her hand to indicate her interest in the car, Jason hesitated, unsure whether to speak, move, or remain frozen, the air thick with suspense. Every observer aware that the power dynamics had shifted in an instant. Emily's serene expression, coupled with the unmistakable presence of her partner, communicated clearly that appearances had been deceptive and authority belonged to those who understood both patience and influence. And in that suspended moment, the showroom became a stage for realization, respect, and the quiet unveiling of truth, leaving all present silently questioning their assumptions and awaiting the inevitable conclusion. Emily Harper and her companion walked slowly into the showroom, the subtle click of her loafers echoing softly across the polished marble floors. Every head turned as the quiet authority she radiated seemed to command attention without a single raised voice. Jason Blake remained frozen behind his desk, his usual confidence replaced with hesitation and a flicker of uncertainty as he watched the poised woman approach. Customers and staff alike exchanged glances, sensing that the ordinary assumptions of power and status had been reversed in an instant. Emily's gaze moved across the rows of luxury vehicles with careful appreciation, her hand hovering near the sleek lines of the midnight blue coupe, as if acknowledging the craftsmanship, while simultaneously asserting quiet control over the situation. The man at her side, impeccably dressed, moved with measured steps, his presence reinforcing the legitimacy and weight of her interest. Whispers floated through the air, soft but pervasive, as employees discreetly adjusted their posture and expressions. The unspoken recognition that this was not a routine transaction settled over the room. Jason finally straightened, attempting to mask his surprise with a rigid, formal smile. Yet the shift in atmosphere was undeniable. Emily extended a hand toward the desk, requesting the paperwork in a calm, deliberate tone, her voice soft yet carrying a resonance that drew immediate focus. The receptionist, momentarily flustered, complied with precise movements, every gesture observed by the assembled onlookers who could not help but be captivated by the reversal of expectations. Jason stepped closer, his earlier smugness replaced by a carefully measured neutrality, trying to regain composure while clearly aware that the dynamic had shifted irreversibly. Emily and her companion exchanged a brief, subtle glance, the silent communication between them conveying mutual understanding and shared control of the unfolding scenario. The customers paused their conversations, leaning slightly to watch, the usual bustle of the showroom replaced by a charged stillness. Even the ambient lighting seemed to accentuate the moment, reflecting off the car's surfaces in a way that highlighted every detail and drew the eyes of everyone present. Emily's movements remained fluid and deliberate as she reviewed the details of the purchase with quiet confidence, the air thick with anticipation, yet completely free of confrontation. And as she signed the necessary forms, her serene composure and understated authority created an unspoken lesson about perception, respect, and the power of quiet confidence. Leaving Jason and the staff to absorb the full impact of the interaction and consider how easily appearances can deceive when true presence and capability are revealed. As Emily Harper slid into the driver's seat of the midnight blue coupe, the soft leather welcoming her touch, the hum of the engine under her fingers a subtle reminder of the precision and craftsmanship of the vehicle. The showroom remained hushed, every pair of eyes following her movements. Jason Blake stood frozen, hands gripping the edge of his desk, as though it were the only anchor keeping him upright, the magnitude of the reversal washing over him. Emily adjusted the mirrors with deliberate care, her attention to detail signaling both respect for the machine and command over the situation. Her companion offered a reassuring nod, the quiet confidence between them unspoken yet palpable. The surrounding staff and customers exchanged glances, the whispered conversations fading into complete stillness as the significance of the moment settled. Emily shifted the gears smoothly, testing the controls with ease, her measured movements conveying mastery without arrogance. Jason's mouth opened slightly, then closed again, the smirk that had been so quick to appear the day before now replaced by the faintest trace of disbelief. Every subtle gesture of Emily's emphasized her composure and the invisible authority she carried. The air seemed heavier, filled with a tension that was both respectful and anticipatory. Customers leaned slightly forward, some craning their necks to see more, the polished floors reflecting the soft morning light, amplifying the elegance of the vehicle and the presence of its occupant. Emily reached for the navigation controls, her fingers gliding over the surface. With precise motions, the simplicity of her actions contrasted sharply with the reactions around her. Staff glanced at each other, recognizing that the quiet woman they had underestimated possessed more than enough influence to command the entire room. Jason straightened once more, clearing his throat with effort, his gaze flicking between Emily and her companion, a subtle acknowledgement of defeat in the unspoken battle of perception and control. Emily leaned back slightly, eyes sweeping the showroom in a calm, steady gaze, noting the details of the architecture, the lines of the other vehicles, and the subtle ways that attention had shifted toward her. The quiet respect in the room was unmistakable, a tangible recognition that appearances can deceive and authority can emerge in the most understated forms. The companion's presence beside her reinforced the gravity of the moment, his measured posture and deliberate movements complementing her own composure. Emily reached across to adjust the climate control with precision, the smallest gesture yet laden with confidence and clarity. Jason's shoulders slumped imperceptibly, the realization that yesterday's dismissal had been premature, settling fully as he watched Emily begin the process of finalizing the paperwork. Every step taken with quiet intention, the room suspended in the moment, caught between the hum of the engines, the gleam of the cars, and the undeniable presence of a simple woman whose patience, poise, and unassuming authority had transformed the dynamic entirely. The hum of conversation never returning, leaving a charged silence that spoke volumes about respect, perception, and the reversal of assumptions. With the paperwork completed and the keys resting securely in her hand, Emily Harper allowed herself a brief, controlled exhale, her eyes sweeping the showroom one final time. The subtle shift in atmosphere unmistakable as every staff member and customer registered the full impact of the morning's events. Jason Blake's previous arrogance had dissolved into a careful, measured acknowledgement. His posture rigid but tempered by the undeniable presence of authority he could neither challenge nor ignore. Emily moved with quiet grace toward the exit, each step deliberate, her companion following with silent assurance. The soft rumble of the Rolls-Royce Phantom engine drawing attention to the pair as they prepared to leave. The morning light reflecting off the car's polished surfaces, scattering soft glints across the showroom and casting long, dramatic shadows that seemed to emphasize the reversal of fortune that had taken place. Emily glanced briefly at Jason, her expression calm yet carrying the weight of recognition that his assumptions had been entirely mistaken. The other customers lingered, some murmuring quietly to one another, others simply observing in awed silence as the quiet woman they had dismissed became the focal point of respect and influence. The polished marble floors reflected not only the vehicles, but also the unspoken lesson that had unfolded. The way perception and reality can diverge, and how understated confidence can command attention without raising a voice. Emily's companion opened the car door smoothly, the gesture subtle, yet reinforcing the controlled power present in their coordinated presence. Emily slid into the driver's seat once more, her movements fluid and deliberate, adjusting the mirrors and seat with practiced precision as if signaling mastery over both the machine and the scenario. Jason watched, his earlier certainty replaced with cautious deference. The staff's whispers ceased, replaced by the soft murmur of realization that the dynamic in the showroom had been irrevocably altered. Emily took a slow, purposeful glance at the gathered crowd, her calm gaze meeting those of the spectators and silently conveying a message of patience, control, and the quiet authority that had defined her presence from the moment she arrived. The subtle hum of the engine seemed to echo that message, resonating through the polished space. Emily's movements toward the exit were measured, composed, each step and gesture reinforcing the respect she now commanded without a word raised in defiance. The morning sun casting a warm glow through the windows highlighted the gleaming vehicles, the soft reflections emphasizing the stillness that had settled over the showroom. And as Emily and her companion finally moved toward the doors, the crowd remained attentive, the full magnitude of the reversal lingering in the air, leaving a suspended sense of awe, contemplation, and the quiet but unmistakable affirmation that appearances had been deceiving and authority had quietly shifted to those who had the patience, composure, and insight to wield it. A hush falling across the room that seemed to echo the unspoken lesson about respect, perception, and the power of understated confidence. As Emily Harper and her companion reached the exit of the dealership, the soft click of the Rolls-Royce doors closing echoed through the polished space, drawing every eye toward the pair one last time. Jason Blake lingered behind his desk, his usual authoritative demeanor replaced by a hesitant stillness, his eyes tracking Emily's composed movements with an unspoken acknowledgement that the previous assumptions had been entirely misguided. The staff and remaining customers watched silently, some leaning forward to catch the smallest gestures, the subtle nods exchanged between Emily and her companion communicating quiet coordination and mutual understanding. The sun poured through the tall glass windows, casting reflective highlights across the floor and vehicles, emphasizing the dramatic contrast between the understated elegance of Emily's presence and the previously unchallenged display of power within the showroom. her every step measured and deliberate, conveying command without raising a voice, the hushed atmosphere thick with awareness of the reversal that had just occurred. Emily paused at the edge of the showroom to glance once more at Jason, her expression calm, yet unmistakably resolute, a silent message that respect is earned through composure, integrity, and quiet confidence rather than assumption or position. Whispers began to ripple through the customers, some expressing astonishment at the unexpected turn, others sharing small smiles of appreciation for the understated authority Emily projected. Her companion opened the passenger door with precision and grace, signaling readiness and reinforcing the quiet dominance of their presence. The subtle hum of the engine combined with the reflective surfaces of the cars to create an almost cinematic stillness, emphasizing the weight of the moment. Jason finally exhaled, the tension in his shoulders releasing ever so slightly as he absorbed the lesson embedded in Emily's actions. The staff adjusted their posture, a collective recognition that appearances can be deceiving and that authority may reside with those who act with calm deliberation. Emily slid into the driver's seat with ease, her movements deliberate, hands resting lightly on the steering wheel as she surveyed the showroom one last time, the sun glinting off her companion's watch and suit, casting subtle highlights that underscored the understated yet undeniable power they now commanded. Every observer in the space understood that the morning had shifted perceptions, challenging assumptions and redefining the dynamic of respect. The soft murmur of movement as the car began to glide forward contrasted with the stillness of the stunned audience, the polished marble reflecting light and shadow as Emily and her companion left the dealership, a lasting impression of poise, composure, and the transformative impact of quiet confidence lingering in the air, leaving Jason, the staff, and the customers to reflect on the lesson of humility, perception, and the subtle but profound authority held by those who understand the power of presence, patience, and understated elegance. As Emily Harper and her companion drove smoothly out of the dealership parking lot, the deep, low hum of the Rolls-Royce engine filled the air, turning heads along the street and drawing attention from passing pedestrians who paused to watch the elegant vehicle glide by. Inside the car, Emily's expression remained calm and composed, her eyes briefly meeting her companion's with a subtle nod, an unspoken acknowledgement that the morning had unfolded exactly as intended. The sunlight reflected off the polished surfaces of the car, casting soft glints across the dashboard and illuminating the serene confidence in her demeanor. Jason Blake remained in the showroom, staring after them, the rigid posture he had maintained all morning giving way to a slow slump of realization as the full impact of the events settled in. The staff quietly resumed their tasks, but the hum of astonishment lingered, a palpable awareness that the assumptions they had held about Emily's capabilities and influence were no longer valid. Whispers spread through the remaining customers as they processed the scene, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others smiling in quiet admiration at the composed authority she had displayed. Emily adjusted the climate controls with precise movements, each gesture deliberate, yet understated, emphasizing that control did not require force or loud assertion. Her companion's steady presence reinforced the unspoken power dynamic, a quiet reminder that competence, confidence, and preparation often speak louder than words or appearances. The polished floors reflected the sunlight and the glinting chrome of nearby vehicles, highlighting the contrast between the sleek car and the calm, purposeful woman guiding it. The air seemed lighter in some ways, charged with the subtle energy of respect and acknowledgement that had been earned rather than demanded. Emily's thoughts remained focused, methodically considering the route to her next destination while also absorbing the significance of what had transpired, every movement precise and measured. From the gentle press of the pedals to the delicate adjustment of the rearview mirror, the surrounding world seemed to slow for a moment, allowing the quiet realization to settle over those who had witnessed the morning's events. Jason watched from the doorway, the initial shock replaced with a careful reflection on how easily assumptions can mislead and how understated authority can command respect far more effectively than overt demonstration. Emily's companion glanced toward her with a brief, subtle smile, the shared understanding between them radiating a quiet confidence that left no room for doubt. The vehicle moved forward, the soft vibrations of the engine beneath them harmonizing with the serenity of the moment. And as they disappeared down the sunlit street, the dealership and its occupants were left to digest the lessons of humility, perception, and the transformative power of patience, composure, and understated presence, a quiet tension and admiration hanging in the air as the realization of the morning's reversal of fortune lingered, and the memory of Emily's calm, deliberate authority would echo in the minds of those who had witnessed it long after the vehicle had passed from view. As the Rolls-Royce Phantom disappeared down the sunlit street, Emily Harper allowed herself a subtle, satisfied exhale, the calm she carried throughout the morning now mingling with the quiet triumph of a plan executed flawlessly. The dealership behind her remained still, the polished marble floors reflecting the morning light, and the stunned expressions of Jason Blake and his staff, each person processing the lesson they had witnessed without words, the subtle shift in perception lingering in the air. Emily's companion reached over briefly, a silent gesture of shared acknowledgement, their eyes meeting for a fraction of a second, conveying mutual understanding and quiet satisfaction in the orderly unfolding of events. As the city streets opened before them, the hum of the engine beneath them a steady reminder of control, precision, and the elegance of patience, pedestrians paused to watch the sleek car glide by, the contrast of the understated driver and the commanding vehicle drawing attention without ostentation. The sun glinted off the chrome accents, scattering reflections that danced across the pavement, echoing the subtle power dynamics at play. Emily's hands rested lightly on the wheel, movements deliberate, every action measured and precise, yet entirely natural, reinforcing the calm authority she projected, her mind cataloging the reactions of those who had witnessed the morning, the respect earned silently, without a word of confrontation. Jason Blake's earlier assumptions about her capabilities had been dismantled completely, the staff's murmurs subdued to a respectful silence as they recognized that power and influence could emerge quietly, through composure, poise, and clear intention rather than loud assertion. Emily navigated the city streets with ease, each turn and acceleration executed smoothly, the Phantom responding to her touch as if acknowledging her mastery over the machine. The ambient light highlighting the sleek contours of the car, the quiet dignity of its occupants, and the lessons imparted on anyone who had observed the scene. Reflections on the polished surfaces mirrored the sunlit buildings around them, reinforcing the sense that subtlety, confidence, and preparation often carry more weight than assumptions or outward appearances. The hum of the tires on the asphalt was steady, a rhythmic cadence echoing the measured patience with which Emily had conducted herself. Her companion offered a reassuring nod from the passenger seat, signaling shared awareness and mutual respect in the quiet execution of authority. The city moved around them, yet the impression left in the dealership, on the staff, and in the minds of the observers remained, a lasting reminder that judgment based solely on appearances is fleeting and that true respect is earned through consistent composure, deliberate action, and the quiet display of capability. As they continued down the sunlit avenue, the lessons of the morning settled like a soft hum across the streets, leaving behind an indelible impression of dignity, poise, and the transformative power of understated presence.